Mais um dia, mais uma live. Começando aí nosso dia 68. A gente tá estudando Functional Programming. Functional Programming, eu não vou saber falar certinho. Ontem, essa semana, né, a gente deu uma olhada aqui em Function by Function, a diferença entre o Declarative Approach e o Imperative Approach. E aí, ontem eu dei uma olhadinha no Consumer quando eu tava saindo. O Consumer é bem simples, né? Ele só tem um. Deixa eu abrir aqui pra minha gata que ela quer sair. O Consumer ele só tem um parâmetro. Ele recebe um coisa e ele não retorna nada, né? E aí o by Consumer, eu imagino que ele só faça os dois, né? Eu
They
não lembro se
have
eu vi
the
ele.
by version. So in front of it, they have the by version.
Ele vai
So
receber dois
the
parâmetros, né?
by simply means that instead of taking one argument, it
Argumento.
takes two arguments.
No
Now
parâmetro que
let's
fala.
go ahead and change this
Argumento.
function. So let me simply grab that.
Tá, eu não vou ver isso aqui porque
And
já entendi como é que funciona.
is
O predikit que eu parei, né? Eu lembro de ter visto, mas eu quero rever ele um pouco pra revisar. Eu lembro que ele é uma condição booleana, né?
phone number valid. So let's go ahead and simply take a phone number. So string and then phone number. And for now, let's go ahead and keep it very simple. But this validation is not real, but it's just to illustrate the actual example and purpose of predicates. So right here, let's simply say that this phone number, in order to be valid, it has to meet the following criteria. So let's return phone number dot and then starts with, and let's say that the phone number has to start with 0 is equal to 11. So this is a simple phone validation method, but simply do a source, and let's have another one and then purpose. So now if what I meant to do was to add that phone and you represent it, and so grab those. There we go. And let me duplicate this, and basically we should have the exact same output. There we go. And then paste that in. Let me do south without predicate, and then right here with predicate. And if I run this, you can see that we have the exact same result. So true, false, false, and without predicate, true, false, false. So false predicate.
Eu queria ver o predicate dele, cadê? O predicate dele tá static, predicate is one number igual phone number. Number starts with tá, é bem simples o predicate, hein? Achei ele bem simples.
We have another predicate. So let's have another predicate. So static and then predicate. And this predicate will take a string.
Vamos dar uma olhada aqui
and then
no
let's say
supplier.
Contains true, because we only need one condition to.
Aqui ele tá mostrando tipo uma bifurcação, né? Deixa eu dar uma olhada nisso.
This one right here. There we go. And then we can say dot, and then is phone number valid predicate, dot, and then and another predicate. So the other predicate is contains number 3, dot, and then test. Let's actually pass this number right here. So the last one. There we go. and let's wrap everything without a system.println. Let me put this on a new line, and just like this, there we go. So if I say right here, is phone number valid and contains number 3 equals, and then plus the actual result. Let's do the same for a different number. So let's actually do for this one, very first one. So right here, and let's actually put a 3 right here. So this should be false because the phone number isn't valid, but it contains number 3 right here. But this one, the phone number is valid, so it starts with 07, 11 characters long, and contains number 3 at the end. So let's go ahead and run this method, and there we go. So you can see that the second one is true, as I explained why, and the first one is false. Now you can use AND, but you can also use OR. So OR means either one of them is true. So if I was to say right here, so instead of AND, I can use OR, right? And then if I remove 3 here and put a 0, run this, this will still be true. It's true because we only need one condition to be true. If you use an AND, so if you chain multiple predicates together using an AND, all of them have to be true. So the same way that we have predicates, we have by predicates, by and then predicates right here. And basically they are the same thing, but instead of taking one argument, they take 2 arguments. So I'm not going to give you a full example on by predicates because you should be familiar now
com
with
esse OR, só uma das condições precisa ser verdadeira. Mas ele criou contains, né? Ele criou uma variável booleânica aqui. É booleânica que fala? Nem sei se eu tô inventando palavra.
by predicates, by functions, by consumers, so on and so forth. So if you have any questions on predicates, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's go ahead and learn about the final functional interface I want to show you, and then we can start putting all the puzzle together so that all of this starts to make sense and how you actually end up using it. Join me in the next one. See ya. All right, go ahead and inside of the functional interface package, create a class called underscore supplier with a public static void main method. So let's go ahead and learn about what a supplier is. So if I go to the docs right here, you can see that they say supplier T represents a supplier of results. So basically, sometimes you might have a method right here that simply, let's say that we have a method like that. So like a method like this. So static and then get, or actually string, get connection URL. Or actually, let's simply say get DB connection URL, right? So this will take no arguments, and let's simply return, and then for example JDBC colon / / localhost, and then 5432 / let's say is if I simply, and then if sum this DB connection URL, and then if I run this, you can see that we get the actual connection URL for some kind of, to return a value right here. So this is the value that it returns. So we can use a supplier to represent the exact same thing. So I'm going to copy this URL, and to have this Java function as functional, we simply have to say supplier, or actually static and then supplier, and then this will supply a string, and then get, let's grab this, and then supplier, and right here equals to, and then what we need to do is simply have parentheses, and then we simply pass, or actually return this, just like that. So if I put this on a new line, so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and you can see that now this is the exact same thing. But if I go ahead and simply say system.out.println, so south, and then right here to use this, I can say get db connection URL supplier dot, and then get. So now if I run this, I do get the exact same result. So this is pretty much how you use a supplier. So a supplier simply returns any kind of value that you want, right? So this data type doesn't have to be a string. It could be, you know, your custom classes, your custom objects, you know, an array, pretty much anything that you want. So if, for example, if you wanted to return a list right here, you could simply say list, and then of type, and then string right here, and then here I would say list dot of, and then just like that, and that would semicolon, right? So now if I run this, you can see that this now is a list. So if I was to return something else,
ele pode retornar uma lista. Ah, não, ele teve que colocar aqui, né? Que é uma lista de string. Legal.
So right here, let me simply add comma, new line, indent this like so. So it's much neater. Just like that. Oops, just like that. And right here, let's simply say customer, for example, right? So get connection URLs, and then supplier, and then here URLs, run this, and there we go. So now we are returning a list with 2 URLs. So if you have any questions on suppliers, go ahead and drop me a message.
Bem simples, né? Bem simples.
Otherwise, let's move on. Alright, so by now you should see exactly the differences between writing a normal Java function and functional interfaces. So the benefit of, you know, knowing the functional interfaces is when you start to use optionals and streams, but more specific streams, right? So once you start using streams with all of these functional interfaces, you will start to write clean code. And that's what I'm going to teach you next. Okie dokie. Now that you've learned about consumers, functions, by functions, predicates, by predicates, and suppliers, and also I think by consumers, now let's go ahead and actually learn how this is useful to us when writing code. So go ahead and create a new package under Java, so package, and call this as streams. Now go ahead and create a new class and simply call it underscore and then stream, just like that. Enter public static void main, enter. Now remember, inside of the imperative package, go ahead and open that up, and let's actually steal some code. So right here, let's steal all of this, so the enum gender as well as the person class. So let me close this, and then right here let me paste that in, and I'm going to cancel because I don't want to import from imperative.main, so cancel. And let me go back again, and let's actually steal some code again. So let's take this list right here. So we're going to take this list, and then we can close this once more, and then right here inside, let's go ahead and paste it. And you see right here, it's trying to import from imperative.main, cancel out of it, and let's simply import the actual list ourselves. So I've just pressed Option Enter, and right here, let's import male and gender, just like that. And finally, let's go ahead and add a static import for those. So I'm just pressing Option and then Enter, add static import. Now let me go ahead and close this, and let's actually use what we've learned in the previous section with streams. So this is pretty much where everything starts to make sense. So let's go ahead and use a couple of those functional interfaces that we've learned. So if I collapse this, or actually open this, so consumer, function, predicate, and suppliers. So go ahead and simply say people dot and then stream, right? So stream pretty much takes us to an abstraction mode. And if you want to learn about all of this, I've got this course right here where I teach everything about the Java Streams API. Because once you learn this, the way that you write your Java code will change quite significantly. So stuff that you used to take 20 lines of code, you can...
Será que é de grátis? Provavelmente não, né? Amigos Code Java Strings. Vamos ver se eu acho. Amigos Code Java String. Não tem mais. Deixa eu ver. Cursos. String. Ele tem um Essentials e tem um Pro. Quanto será que é esse curso? O quê? $100 por 2 horas de conteúdo? Não, mas não vale a pena não, cara. Tá maluco.
can simply collapse it into perhaps 5 lines of code. And to be honest, knowing how to use the Java Streams API will make you a much better developer. So I also have a free video on YouTube where I teach about filter, sort, group by, all match. Basically, this is an introduction of this awesome API. But for now, let's go ahead and learn some of these methods. So go ahead and say people.stream, and now go ahead and simply say dot. So what I want you to do is to actually look carefully. So right here, so look at the methods that we have. We have map, collect, filter, find first, for each, all match. But what I want you to see is exactly, look, the map function takes a function, right? Takes a function of some type that extends person, and then you can see the other one, so the other argument, so question mark extends R, mapper. So this is exactly what we've learned, right? So a function takes an input and produces an output. So the same with collect. So collect is a supplier, and you can see a by consumer. So this is awesome, right? This is everything that we've learned. So the same with filter, takes a predicate, find first, so this returns simply an optional. For each takes a consumer, right? Let's look another one. So for example, drop while, this takes a predicate, find any, flat map, so this is a very useful function, takes a function inside, and right here, flat map to int, map to double, so this takes a to double function, right? And you can see right here, non-match, a very useful function as well. Reduce, binary operator, and then right here you have another reduce, and then look at this. Sorted takes a comparator, it's not relevant to us. Take while, you can see that this takes a predicate, and to array int function. And basically this is pretty much everything that we have learned, right? So functions, by function, consumers, predicates, and the other good stuff. So basically this is now where everything.
Pô, muito útil saber primeiro dessas coisas pra depois ir pro string, cara. Pô, muito útil, muito útil, velho. Porra.
Comes into action. So let me go ahead and show you, for example, how to use this map function. So go ahead and simply select the map function, and the map function simply does transformations. So right here, this takes a person, right? And from here, what we want to return. So I want to return person dot and then the actual gender. Now let's go ahead and simply say dot and then collect, and then collect is to set, right? So, and also let me extract this to a variable, genders, and then south, and then genders, or actually not even south. So let me simply remove that, because I want you to see exactly what we're doing. So right here, so instead of collect, let's go ahead and simply say dot, and then look at this. For each takes a consumer, and we've learned about consumers, right?
Consumer, ele pega negócio que tem só um argumento e ele não retorna nada. Faz sentido?
A consumer simply takes an argument and produces nothing.
Porra, muito bom saber isso, cara. Nossa, eu sinto que ficou tão mais fácil string agora, mano. Pô, string, functional interface, lambda, mano, tudo fez assim, ó. Tudo conectou. Porra, muito. Pô, aquela. Nossa, mano. Conectou tudo, velho.
So void,
bom, mano.
right? So right here, we will take a gender. And what we want to do with this gender. So we want to simply do a system dot out dot print line and then gender. And now we can use method reference with this, like so, and beautiful code. Now let me go ahead and run this method so you can see what we are doing.
Vai printar cada gênero, né?
Ta-da, there we go, male and female, right? So you can see that we mapped everything. So right here, we stream the people list. So oops, so right here we stream the people list, right? Contains a bunch of people right here. So John, Maria, Aisha, Alex, and Alice. So we map, so we perform a transformation on that list. So we convert every single one of them into a gender. So now we simply have a list full of genders.
Certo.
And then we collect to a set, removing duplicates, and then we simply print. That's why you see that we have only male and female right here. So if I was to have another gender,
ponto tio 7 fez, ele criou set. Preciso revisar aqui que é set, hash 7, hash map. Eu lembro muito vago, eu lembro que é um set, por exemplo. Eu acho que o set é o que guarda as coisas, mas ele não guarda a ordem.
right here, cannot, or actually
Revisar isso aí. Eu vou até colocar aqui no meu escalidrão pra me revisar o map, hash 7. Map, hash map. Vou colocar essas coisas aqui pra mim dar uma olhadinha, cara.
Not to say, but basically this is not gender, I'm just giving you an example. So right here, let's add another one, another person right here. There we go. And then prefer not to say, this will be Bob. And you could tell that this is a gender, but so if I run this, you can see that now we have prefer not to say as well right here. So if I was to now map this into the actual name, right? So let's say name and then run this. We simply now get the actual names instead of genders. So this is really, really, really awesome. So let me also show you that we can simply get the length of each name. So
Cara, muito útil saber isso, velho. Meu Deus, cara, como. Cara, acho que a melhor aula que eu assisti na minha vida, mano. Puta que pariu, velho. Tô em choque, velho. Muito. Porra. Nossa, mano, mas conectou tudo que eu estudei nesse mês tudo. Ele conectou tudo agora. Conectou Lambda, String, Functional Programming, Functional Interface, tudo. Porra. Caralho, ele explodiu minha mente agora. Muito foda, mano. Nossa, eu tava quebrando a cabeça, mano. Que aula boa da porra, mano.
let's also perform another map operation, right? Or in this scenario, let's say map to int. This takes the actual name, so this time is name, and then simply say name dot and then length. And right here we're not going to collect to set, so let me delete that. And then we can even change this to method reference, just like that. If I run this, you can see now the length of each name. So this is the power of streams.
Isso aqui é algo que eu queria ver, mano. Esses string.length.
So you might be asking, what is this, right? Or what is this?
Ah, é uma
Or
expressão
what
longa
is
que...
this? So let me just show you right now. So what I'm going to do here is simply extract this to a variable and also this to a variable
Muito legal.
and also this to a variable.
Caramba, eu nem sabia que tinha
And
um
now
atalho pra
check this
extrair
out.
negócio bom.
So this is what you've been learning in the past videos. So look at this function that takes a person, returns a string, and then the same here, toInt function. We haven't learned toInt function, but basically this is the same thing.
toInt function string length.
So this takes a string and returns an integer. That's all it does. And you can see right here, int consumer. So an int consumer, this takes a string and returns an integer. That's all it does. And you can see right here, int consumer. So an int consumer simply takes an integer and it prints out the result. So right here, so let me actually replace this with a lambda so you can see exactly what is this. You can see that this is what we've been learning throughout this course. But when you use it with streams, you don't have to have all of this syntax. Basically, you can ditch the left-hand side and just keep these, right? So if I now inline everything, so Command Shift N, Command Shift N there, Command Shift N there, and look at this, right? And here even method reference, and there we go. So if you want to learn more about streams, go ahead and check my course on Java Streams API, where you learn everything about writing code in a declarative way. This is all for now. Join me in the next one. All right, let me show you some other methods.
Pô, que aula boa do caramba, mano. Meu Deus, cara. Meu Deus, mano. Tô feliz, mano. Eu sofri muito, né? Tive sofrendo muito pra pegar tudo isso e conectar, né, esses conteúdos. Mano, por isso que às vezes é importante você ter um bom curso e não só sair aprendendo no foda-se, tá ligado? Né? Mas porra, aquela mão. Boa. What problem is the video order is not sync, which can be problematic. Nossa, mano, eu não tinha reparado nisso. Agora que você falou, eu vou reparar. Just have my Java test today. I wish this was posted 2 days ago. Vou search for Java programming in this public development. Cara, muito bom, muito bom, muito bom. Eu vou sair fora aqui. Eu queria dar uma escritinha de código, mas eu tô bem cansado, com bastante sono. Mas eu quero reescrever esse código dele e brincar um pouco, né, com a string e fazer as coisas amanhã. Por agora eu vou sair. Amanhã, se pá, eu dou uma olhada melhor. Pô, mas sinto que eu tô good to go agora, hein, mano. Tô em bons caminhos, cara. Muito bom, muito bom, muito bom. Valeu, todo mundo que colou aí hoje. Tudo apareceu. Vou sair fora. Amanhã, como sempre, tem mais. É nóis.